the Park Board meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Miller,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Shipe,
Here.
Burns.
Yes. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to item 4, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Do we have any discussion on that?
Yes. I'd be interested in a couple changes. Pulling out the Halloween event from consent and then putting that as 8E. And then adding a public forum to either the tennis or the pickleball discussions.
We do have a public forum going today.
That would be for items we're not on the agenda, so they wouldn't be able to speak to either of those issues. Which
I'd be willing to amend my motion with those changes.
Okay.
I'm not.
I'll second.
All right. So we have 8F would be the dangerously thrilling decibels. And then it was brought up before. You weren't here yet. We do have community empowerment grant on there also. So dangerously thrilling will go 8F.
Sure.
So we have an amended motion for removing dangerously thrilling from the consent calendar and making that 8F, and 8E is community empowerment grant. Do we have any other discussion on that? Not all those in favor, say aye.
Pause, because he asked for a public forum for, in
yes.
the discussion items. Yep.
Yes, discussion on the public forum. Mr. Miller, anything?
No discussion, no.
Okay, and the public forum for pickleball. Any other discussion on that?
That'd be item 7A, just to clarify. I think that's probably where we want the discussion. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yes. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Making my notes because I won't remember.
Good call.
Okay. Item 5, consent calendar. So we have approval of the minutes and approval of disbursements. Notice to public, all matters listed are considered routine by the board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar containing the minutes and disbursements.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. And we will go for a roll call vote.
Miller,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Shipe,
Yes.
Burns.
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 6A, Gregory Park Tennis Court usage.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did pull a report from 2024 regarding all the usage at the tennis court, and the community action has quite a bit of usage there, and also the Discovery Wood School. And these are the only usage that we have regarding those courts. I just would like to indicate that 5 tennis courts in a neighborhood park, if they were 100% used to their fullest potential, I would be getting quite a few phone calls from the neighbors indicating that there's, 40 cars parked here on a regular basis if those courts were utilized to its fullest potential. But with this usage, there's not as much usage there as it may seem. But the other thing that's not being recorded is just the general public going there and utilizing those courts. So I just wanted to bring it to our attention that, yes, we do have some usage, not to the fullest potential, but that is because individuals will just go there and use it, and that's what it's there for. But at the same time, When we have to resurface those courts, we're going to be spending $30,000-$40,000 to resurface that. And with the small usage that we have here, and these are majority waived fees, we now have $0 coming in for usage and about $30,000-$40,000 going out. I just want to make that announcement, not that it's right or wrong or indifferent. I just want to make that indicated for decision-making.
Okay. Mr. Kellerman?
Thank you, Chairman Burns, Board, Mr. Honored Mayor, Mr. Hoppyforce. My name is Larry Kellerman, and thank you for allowing us this time on your agenda today to talk about tennis at Gregory Park and the three-court section which is being considered for reconditioning into permanent pickleball courts. First of all, why am I here today? I spent more than 20 years living one block north of Gregory Park prior to moving to Baxter, and I, along with my tennis colleagues, have spent many hours playing tennis at Gregory Park. I personally play 3 times a week in the winter, having to seek out indoor courts, but from the 1st of May until Halloween, I play 5 times a week at Gregory Park. I play in 3 different groups with more than 30 regular players. The longest playing group of the 6 regular players who rotate on a schedule at Reagan Resort 2 times a week during the winter, a group which, with players like Alan Gunsberry, Colonel Don Jensen, and John Fitzpatrick, plus other notable community members. Now that group has grown to more than 10 to 12 in the summer at Gregory Park, playing 3 times a week, which means we need 3 courts. The second group, 12 to 14 men, which have been playing together for about 25 years, play twice a week at Gregory Park in the summer and drive to Sartell in the winter in order to play indoors. Again, the size of this group requires a need for 3 courts. And the third group, the largest, with an average of 25 players each summer, is sponsored through the Center for Senior Tennis Players over the age of 55. And from May 1st until Halloween, this group plays 3 times a week with an average of 12 to 16 players attending, accounting for the need of all 3 courts and frequently a 4th court as well. Now, the physical education instructor at St. Francis of the Lake Catholic Church, a few blocks from Gregory Park, utilizes the courts for 3 to 4 weeks each spring and fall, teaching 4th through 8th grade students with class sizes between 20 to 27. And the administrative assistant at Discovery Woods Montessori School of Brainerd pointed out that for a week each spring and fall, they use the 3 tennis courts section for Gregory Park for 1st through 6th graders, 4 sessions per day with 20 children per session for a total of 80 students. They also use the courts once a year for track and field events, which involve 100 students on the courts. Jack Freeman, Director of Activities for School District 181, knew of the utilization of Gregory Park courts, but directed me to visit with Lisa Salo, retired coach for the district. Lisa Salo was also recently inducted into the Minnesota Tennis Coaches Association Hall of Fame, identified a number of times and events in which the school district uses the Gregory Park tennis courts. She noted that both the high school and middle school have large numbers of athletes who come out for tennis, resulting in needed additional court space at Gregory Park for dual tennis play against other towns. She noted that allows them for most, if not all, athletes on the roster and opposing teams' rosters the opportunity to compete. Salo also noted that the high school varsity and junior varsity tennis teams also compete at Gregory Park courts for multiple team tournaments hosted during the tennis season. The 5-court complex, she said, is relatively close to the schools in the district, allowing for the tennis needs from time to time. In addition to the tennis team needs, Solo pointed out that after-school tennis program sponsored by District 181 Brainerd Community Education for 3rd and 4th grade students has been conducted at Gregory Park for multiple years. As I have just described, there is still a definite need to keep and maintain the 3 tennis court unit at Gregory Park. However, the area tennis players also believe there definitely is a need for more and better pickleball courts in Brainerd. But we do not believe converting the 3 courts at Gregory Park is your best solution. It would take away the active usage the courts currently get from tennis players. Over the years, some accommodations have even been made on those courts to provide 3 pickleball courts. While not ideal, a total conversion is a mistake we believe you, the Park and Recreation Board, should not make. Mr. Hobbyhorse, Brainerd Public Works Director, in an introduction to the Brainerd Area Pickleball Association, noted that new pickleball courts should meet United States pickleball standards, which enable groups to play sanctioned tournament play. Again, we agree as tennis players. In addition, in visiting with Tracy Kennedy, an area professionally certified pickleball and tennis coach, who noted that in order to do sanctioned tennis play, regular pickleball courts need to be 30 by 64 feet to meet U.S. standards. Data shows that to establish an 8-court complex takes a space of about 240 by 480 feet. The 3-court section of tennis courts at Gregory Park measures out at 125 by 148 feet, quite short of the need. This is extremely short of the space sanctioned for tournament play. And my understanding is that the Brainerd Area Pickleball Association is planning for something far less than this. But given the growing needs and demands for pickleball courts in the Brainerd area, it seems far more logical to plan and create an 8-court complex which both the Pickleball Association and you, the Park Board, and the City of Brainerd can be proud. Statistics show that to build an 8-court complex will take approximately $150,000 to $200,000. Brad Miller, who was instrumental in the development of the Ironton pickleball courts, noted that to construct those courts cost $175,000 for 6 courts with 8-foot fencing. I know this amount is far more than the Pickleball Association is thinking it will take to convert the Gregory courts. That's true, but the question to consider is it wise to destroy the 3 courts at Gregory Park, each valued at $40,000 to $60,000, if you have to replace them for approximately the same cost as a new pickleball complex? The value gained would be 0, and the loss is the active usage the courts currently receive. So that answer is no. There is also the noise level in this residential community as well as parking issues. Noise levels from pickleball can reach 70 decibels or higher. It's the same frequency as the beeping of a garbage truck backing up. This constant repetitive pop sound over an extended period of time can be highly irritating. Noise complaints have led residents to experience sleeplessness, anxiety, and general peace of quiet. Parking around Gregory Park is minimal when a number of cars converge on the area at present. With increased numbers of pickleball courts, this problem also increases. Consideration such as these also need to be given to the Brainerd Northside Neighborhood Association. Their members have concerns about this, and the proposal to convert the courts will change the complexion of the neighborhood. One does not destroy one usable property which has high usage to replace it with another simply because someone had an idea they thought might work. I realize that the City of Brainerd has a long-range plan for capital improvements. I've been told there's no money earmarked for either this year or 2026. But I also understand a single tennis court is tentatively in the plan for another Brainerd Park in the future. It seems that it would be wise to rethink funding of the proposed tennis court and redirect its tentative funds to partial funding for a new pickleball complex in collaboration with the Brainerd Area Pickleball Association. Additionally, funds may also be available from organizations such as Community Foundation, Essentia Health, and other service-minded community groups. In visiting with many tennis players who both play tennis and pickleball, some seem even more than willing to help fund a new pickleball complex rather than destroy the existing tennis courts at Gregory Park. We as avid tennis players and pickleball supporters ask you to consider the facts and concerns before moving forward with a project you may later regret. I printed summary data to be given to you to consider our arguments as a reason the courts should remain for tennis, and data to consider in finding a better solution for the new pickleball courts, which will both serve the needs of the players and will also be U.S. Pickleball Association approved for tournament play. I thank you for your time and look forward to a reasonable solution for both tennis and pickleball players alike.
Thank you, Mr. Kellerman. I appreciate the research and the insight that you have provided. Moving on to number 7, item A, discussion on the pickleball agreement.
Thank you, Mr. President. And yes, Larry, thank you. Seriously. I first want to just publicly apologize for not having a public outreach component to this plan, and that resides with me. So I formally apologize to the north side, and because I enjoy public outreach. I think it's a huge component of working with any municipality. So I just want to formally indicate, and that solely rests in my office. So with that said, I've met with the Pickleball Association and met with other agencies, our different clubs, and they are pulling their request from Gregory Park. They would like to still maybe have a little presence there with temporary courts so that they can grow the sport of pickleball, but that is another discussion. So formally, they are pulling their request, and they are going to be continually funding and fundraising for another home here in Brainerd, and I think that's really admirable that they still want to move forward. And they also apologize. They didn't want to create any hardship whatsoever. We're all in Brainerd together, right? And so they really are supporting, and they want to have a good cooperative arrangement working with everyone. So that is the latest, working with the Pickleball Association. And so with that, they just also wanted to indicate that hopefully there's still an appetite for them to have some presence there to grow the sport and to fundraise for the city of Brainerd to have some pickleball complex here in Brainerd. But that will be on another topic. So again, just to reiterate, they're pulling their request for an agreement at Gregory Park.
Do we have any questions for staff? Yes.
Are they still interested in, I know part of the agreement was putting up banners at Gregory. Are they still interested in that? I feel like we just have the one there, but that could be a kickstart for their fundraising.
Correct. And they would, they just suggested, working with the Northside community, would one tennis court be okay? One tennis court equals 2 pickleball courts, because we do want that type of surface to grow the sport of pickleball. You need that type of surface to have quality play. And then they would also put up some banners to start fundraising moving forward. And that banner program would follow our banner guidelines. We have a very extensive, staff has done a great job researching and developing procedures for our banner program, and it would match that.
Cool.
Kara or Dave?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we're going to do banners, let's just follow whatever your decision is when you get to that point with the banner program, since there isn't going to be any type of agreement in place. The idea behind the banner program is to go towards the amenity that it's on. So if that's what they're raising funds for, that should go directly towards that amenity. So it'd be a safer bet to just follow ourselves in our own policy once it's created.
Do we have any other questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, there will be no action needed on our end, so we will move on to 7B, approval of banner quotes.
Got to pause you there, because we did have a public forum under this item, so
You want it
if people
under
want to
this one or
speak,
Under the public forum?
this was, I believe that's where we put the public forum,
Yeah.
so.
You want it under pickleball?
Yeah, it don't matter to me,
Okay.
so.
We will open a public forum at 4:19. This is the time allocated for citizens to bring matters related to the pickleball agreement to the board. Time limits may be imposed as needed.
I didn't think so.
Okay, seeing none, we will close the public forum at 4:20.
Can I still? Sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't getting up fast enough.
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
come on up.
Great. Krista Sukup, 606 Bluff Avenue, Brainerd, president of the Brainerd Northside Neighborhood Association. And I'm glad that that topic was taken off for approval by the board. And as a resident of North Brainerd, and my daughters are captains of the tennis team. They've grown up in the courts. And the great thing about tennis and having that there is there are many neighborhood kids that use it a lot. They can walk to it. They can bike to it. All ages. It's a great activity. And just wanted to verbally say that we are adamantly opposed to converting the tennis courts, removing the tennis courts from Gregory Park. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else for the pickleball public forum? Okay, seeing none, now we will close it at 4:21. Moving on to 7B, approval of banner quotes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like I indicated earlier, staff has really been working hard on this banner program to make some standard operating procedures and gather some quotes. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Kayla.
So you'll see attached are quotes that I received from local printing companies. So there's quite a few. We have 6 different companies that we received quotes from for 4x4 and 4x6 outdoor banners. The recommended material for outdoor banners are 13 to 18 ounces. We recommend Illusion Graphics because the owner brought his prices down to match costs and wants to gain our business. He's also experienced and designs the BIR banners and the Lakes Jam banners. And you can also see a table that I handed out, and it shows all the costs in there.
Do we have any questions for staff? Kayla, I appreciate the table. That is much nicer to go through than all the quotes. Yes, Kara.
How long is he willing to give us? I don't remember what we decided. It's like 3 years. Last week we were talking, like, how long is this contract, these prices good for, if you've reduced his prices for us?
We didn't discuss that. He said for the first year, and typically prices don't change after the first year.
Andrew?
So Illusion has the setup fee. Did you get a sense? Is that something he's willing to do for most folks, or is that like he does it but isn't super excited about that part of the work? Right. Yeah.
He said he would match any of the companies for any fees, so he's including that into the total price. So it won't be an additional fee.
Oh, that's built in. Okay. Misread that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I just have a procedural question. Are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed to get a quote and then have them match the other people's quotes?
To answer that question directly, I'm not sure. That's something that we'll reach out to our finance department for and make sure that we're in compliance.
Yeah, I want to make sure we're in compliance.
Do we have any other questions for staff?
I don't think a question for staff. I think it's more just a comment. So when I'm looking at the breakdown, we're talking about specifically what the city is going to have to pay to have the banners made when we're talking about cost. So the design fee, I think, nicely included because we want to set expectations for people when they do reach out to these companies when they're going to have their banner designed, but not something that we're necessarily mandating that they do as long as it follows the standards. So a full pricing that includes design may not necessarily be where we want to be because we just want to pay for the banner to be made, right? And not so much the design side, right? They provide the design, and if they want to go through our vendor, we're okay with that. So like the 4x4 and 4x6 cost is the part that we eat, and the design part of it is the part that they eat. Like, we're not having them pay for the design through us, right? So, are you getting what I'm spinning? No? Yes? Because again, we're only fronting the cost of the banner. Like, that's what we're paying to construct. So, like, the actual inclusion of, again, congruency aside, or if we can even do this, like the ones with the included design fee pricing, I think is maybe not where we want to be, because it's just kind of one of those where they can bring a design to us, and as long as it fits standards, they don't need to pay the vendor to make their design. So I'm more inclined to take a like a first impression style quote, because we're just paying for the materials, and then the design fee is optional. We can move them over to first impression and say, hey, this is what they're going to charge you, or you can bring your design to us as long as it reaches standard. So I don't necessarily like the quotes with the design fee included. If that's, again, I like to see it as a separate item. So again, that's just my only hang up with the pricing, is that I want to be able to look at this and say, okay, what does it cost the city to manufacture these versus what we're charging people for the banner. So that's kind of my comment on that.
Mr. Sandy?
The last meeting, didn't we talk about like sending folks to our selected vendor and just having them supply the banner to us and pay the cost for the banner and the design? Or did I read that completely wrong?
I thought that was
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so what you're saying is,
Because there's two components here, right? There's the material cost, and then there's the design cost, right? And they don't necessarily need them to do the design if they have somebody internal. I mean, our discussion was not a lot of small businesses do have that, but some people do have design elements. So when we're sending them over, if that's the process that we want to do, I just want to make sure that when we're quoting people, that the cost of the design, if they were to bring their own that meets standard, isn't included in the actual cost of the materials.
isn't that something that they're just working directly with that vendor with? Like the
Yeah,
city
if
doesn't
that's
have-
and that's the route we kind of decided on
Right.
again. But when we're
Yeah.
setting expectations for the program,
Right.
I want to make sure that people are aware what each piece
Material
is.
cost
Yeah,
is,
the
what the
material
design
cost, and
time
like,
is.
hey, here are the savings that you can have if you take it to you do the design work yourself.
I think
Right.
David, you bring this up at the last meeting where you talked about how you might not want people doing their own design because their pixelated graphics and things might not come out the way you want, and maybe we want to require that they have it professionally designed.
Yeah, I
as a
mean,
part of our.
just from a personal preference, I think it's important for the city to know what we're putting up. So, and it, like we said, it's totally different depending on where you're putting it. Baseball field's way different than a tennis court. That would be my only fear with that, is that just making sure that everything has a cohesive.
And I
to it.
100% agree. We didn't require folks to bring or to go through whatever vendor for their design. We were just saying, hey, these guys are going to have our standards, so if you want to utilize them, you can. But we weren't requiring people to do it at the end of our last, the design side of things. It wasn't required.
Yeah, I just want us to make sure that we're having a cohesive look.
Yeah.
Picking what we want this to look like and then putting them in there, because like I said, a baseball field, smattered logos of all different colors looks kind of cool. I don't think that looks kind of cool on everything in the park. I think that with all the time and energy that you guys have spent on creating a design standard, it seems weird to me to then go, just throw up a bunch of logos here and there. I think being methodical about it is important. So that was my thought process behind it. But I don't know. I mean, there's a big difference. $75 an hour, but your cost of your banner is drastically lower. So I understand what you're saying, but I almost am more inclined to say I would rather that our banners look the same. I'd rather that when it comes to us, we know what it is. And the example I would use is you go look at the softball fields, and everything's different, you
Like I
know?
said, I agree with you. I'm just, I think for us to decide is, most importantly, is are we going to require that their banner be designed by the vendor? Because that was not the conversation last, at the
My
public.
question to you would be, what do you want the banners to look like?
Well, I think that's another discussion, right? But
Well, that's gonna determine whether or not you make that decision or not. What do you want it to look like? If you just want a white logo on a, if you want a logo on a white background, that's pretty simplistic to do. But if you're doing something different than that, I think that's a totally different conversation. So, but that's for you guys to decide.
Kara?
I think we were going to ask our vendor to create a banner. Weren't we going to do that using their logo? And we were going to get some ideas of what they would look like.
Yes, so this whole process is going to be similar to our park benches, so in our memorial, that they pay that invoice of the bench plus the fee for that we charge. So this is following that same process with that. And yes, we designed in Illustrator, I forget the program that we use, just a sample banner. We put the City of Brainerd logo on there, you know, for all your recreational needs. And we said, okay, this is what a standard banner is going to look like, 4x4, 4x6, or whatever it is. And we had that as a template. We didn't literally make them make a banner and waste that cost. We just said, okay, this is what it's going to be like. It's going to be, you know, so many ounces, 13 ounces, 18 ounces, or whatever. And so this process will mimic our bench process also, and our tree memorial process.
Do we have any other discussion? Andrew?
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nick?
Just a general comment. I'm just hearing some of this discussion, and I haven't been involved with the whole process. My recommendation, based on what I'm hearing to the board, would be, whatever we submit in a request to proposals that we push out to the vendors, I would recommend that you be very explicit with what you're looking for as far as dimensions, material, color, the weight of the fabric, the design work. I would be very explicit on what you guys are looking for. And I would also be similarly explicit on how you want them to produce their proposals, if it's unit cost, hourly cost. In other words, we want to make sure that we're asking for exactly what we want, and we want to make sure that all the vendors have an equal footing as they submit their proposals, and it's going to be an apples to apples for a comparison. Based on the uniqueness of what I've heard on some of how the bids came in, and we maybe had a vendor that said, we'll match anybody else's bid, I would advise against that. I would probably defer this decision and put this out for bid again and be really explicit on what you guys are looking for and have a vendor submit a cost, not a cost that's with an asterisk that says we'll beat anybody else's price. That's not the way to conduct this kind of business, in my opinion. So that'd be my recommendation, is to defer this and have another go at it.
Any other further discussion, comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
One more, Mr. Chair. I think as we look at this, I think I kind of understood things as you did, Kara, that we were going to ask the vendors to design sort of a branded or styled banner for us to see, like, okay, if you were printing every banner for the city, how would you take a logo like the city or yours and transform it to be something we can standardize across softball field, pickleball court, tennis court, hockey rink, whatever. Because I don't think any of us are exceptional graphic designers, and so we can lean on their expertise as part of the process to not just get a price for the banners, but also can you help build a brand and a style that we can repeat over and over. So I'd want to, I think, include that as part of the bid process if we're going to send this out again.
I would agree.
yeah, and I think, that was part of really kind of the conversation too, because we have a certain level of design standard for like our signage and coloring and all that sort of thing that's within the system. So if we can just utilize that as part of the bid to have them, like I said, realistically put their logo on a banner. Again, it doesn't need to be some incredible 3-hour, design piece, but, utilizing what we have for design standards, colors and things like that to promote some sort of design that we could go off of using their logo. Like if they were to be hung up at the softball field, how would they want their 4x4 to look based on our design standard, right? And then kind of going
from there.
Andrew?
Just to build on that, John, maybe it's like, because Dave's point, the softball field looks really cool and you've got all colorful things. I think hockey boards, same way, right? Let's have splashes of color. It's great. Tennis court, basketball, whatever. I want it to blend in more with, so maybe it's like a park branded logo and then just being able to handle being things unpixelated in a colorful logo. And then as a board, we decide this facility gets this style and this facility gets the other style. But it's that I feel like we can make as a board and say, right, we're deciding softball's colorful, tennis courts are more neutral, right, because it's in a neighborhood, or hockey boards are colorful because you're inside the.
My only request is that we don't make this too complicated, because as a business person, if we start putting too many complications on it, I'm out. So we need to keep that in mind, that the harder and more complicated we make it, the less that we're gonna raise in funds. So, Mike?
Thank you, Mr. President. So asking a company to make a sample banner, that's a cost to them. Are you authorizing us, if they say, well, it's going to cost you X number of dollars, are you authorizing us to pay for that? Or are we saying we want them to?
I don't think necessarily need to print a banner. I just want to see a PDF
Okay.
of what they would think. Just again, it doesn't need to be some masterfully stroked thing. Just kind of, again, something that matches our color scheme, typography, that sort of thing, and just slap it on a 4x4 or 4x6 and show us an example of your brand with our color scheme and typography, and something for us to go on, right?
Mayor?
Yeah, and I would just add, the idea is that these are reproducible. So, if I was to do this, I would make it very simplistic to take a logo that is going to come through, that is going to be pixelated, because that's what you're going to get, and make it something that is reproducible. So I know it seems like we're asking someone to make some grand thing. A template is essentially what we're asking for, and I don't think that that's too much to ask. But no, we absolutely don't want an actual banner to be printed. No. Just a basic concept, but it has to be reproducible so that when someone else's logo comes in, they can slap that logo in there.
JD, just
Kara.
to add to your point about the too much for a business, like I think once we get that, then, the radio will say, cool, I want to be a sponsor. We'll get your logo, and then we'll put it on there. It's not like they have to recreate their own crazy, awesome banner. From what I'm understanding, it's going to be very much like whichever field they want. It's going to be like maybe change the colors to match your logo or something like that.
Okay. Do we have a motion for staff direction?
I think I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to contact these vendors, have them put together a very simple template for the 4x4 and 4x6 banners, utilizing our color and typography standards within our park system, utilizing their logo as if they were to be, again, we're going to use the softball fields because that's where we're at right now, a softball field style banner in a PDF using our color scheme and typography and their logo. So as if they were out there, that's the banner they would hang on our outfield fence utilizing our standards.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'm just questioning, staff, does that provide enough guidance to you?
Yes,
or
that
would
is
you like
perfect.
more?
Thank you.
I'll second then.
I think Kara beat you to it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Kara.
Yep.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Mr. Mayor?
Under the assumption that all logos that will be received will be the worst versions of all logos they have ever seen.
No other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 8, new business. Item A, discussion of men's adult softball league rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we are getting ready for our softball league to start up here. And there's always softball rule discussions. Whatever municipality you go to, there's always some type of rule discussion and moving forth. And so as we look at our rules, we want to make sure that they're congruent and that it is encouraging play for all levels of individuals. And you will never have a rule book that will satisfy every person on that baseball diamond. Knowing that, I'm going to turn it over to Kira and then move forward with that.
So Brainerd Parks and Recreation is sanctioned through Minnesota USA Softball, and our league will abide by their rule book. So if you take a look at the rules in the packet, so you'll see 1A, rosters subbing. MS2 teams may have 1 A or B classified player or 2 C players total on their roster. They are not allowed to have 1 A player and 1 C player, 1 B player and 1 C player, more than 1 A or B player, or more than 2 C players. So there are a lot of MS2 players that like to play up to MS1 to play more than one night. This helps to form enough players for all of the teams in our leagues.
So, and just to continue, there was one complaint that indicating that MS1 players playing down to MS2 level. So these are our two categories, MS1 and MS2. And then on the other side, we have a ranks of players, A, B, C, and then D. So when you have those two different categories, individuals at the higher level still want to play more games, but we have some criteria where you can't load an MS2 team with very competitive players. We have it very strictly indicated out. So the rules are pretty solid, but again, you're going to have individuals that think these players should not be playing at all. So our only recommendation, if the board would like to have some stronger rules in place, is that we allow for the MS2, the lower league, that no A player can play in MS2 league. That is if we want any type of modification to our rules. Our staff recommendation is not to change them, but if we have an appetite to change that, we only don't allow A players to play in that lower level. And then also with a caveat, next year for 2026, we want to create another level of MS3 play. So it'd be recreational, intermediate, and then advanced. So we'd have 3 different layers where individuals would come in and play. Some municipalities will have that lower recreational team as, 50 or 40 and over, or recreational league, or whatever you want to call it, but is just truly a beginner league. And that way you have a beginner, intermediate, and then advanced play. And individuals can go back and forth. But again, just to reiterate, the only modification that we would want, if there is any, we would recommend that there's no changes to our softball leagues. But if there is an appetite to tighten it up a little bit, is that we do not allow A players to play on the MS2 league.
All right, discussion, Mr. Sandy.
I don't have anything. I'm sorry.
I do have one question for Kayla, and it's been a while since I've played, but do you know how many of our players are A, B, or C ranked? That came after I was done playing, so.
I don't have a list of that, but is on the USA website
Okay.
that we would be able to view that.
Okay.
Is this an epidemic? I mean, like I said, I'm the one who fielded the complaints. So, but one of the things that was brought up to me originally was that we did make a few, we've gotten over the rule changes and things like that significantly over the last 6 months. And so all of the rakes being out there and all this other stuff, again, the rules of the game are set by we have standards for that, and that's totally fine. But is this a huge problem?
No, I was only contacted by one manager
Yeah.
about this, and I was actually contacted by many other managers about not wanting to change
Right.
the rules
Yeah, and that's totally
in
fine
order to
with me,
have a
like-
team.
Yeah, and if it's about filling the league up, like I said, I get this the subbing thing. It makes total sense to me. But yeah, as long as that was the only change that was discussed, that everybody was not.
I don't think it was really.
Yeah,
changed.
right. Exactly. That's what I mean. It's not changed, but again, we went over a significant amount of changes to how we operate, I guess, internally. And again, I don't necessarily think that meets the league rules or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure that the effort that we put in last year, I mean, Nick, you were involved on a higher level, but that we're holding our end of the bargain up on those things as well. I mean, because again, the rule thing, the rules are the rules, so we're just going to go by the rules. But I mean, what we were. Again, I wasn't present for that particular presentation later on in the year. You might have been there, but with Jesse and Haley at that time, the end of season meeting.
The one at Mill Stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
There was one individual that was very passionate about this particular issue, but I think I kind of lean into what you're saying as well, is that we had a plethora of issues last year, and I think most of them are solvable. I don't know if diving at that particular rule is going to solve it. I think if we clean up a lot of the other issues that we had,
Yeah.
and take a year of that, I think we could get away with reinvestigating this
Yeah,
year if it continues to be an issue.
I don't need to touch this rule at all. I just wanted to make sure that those things that we discussed are in place and we've taken care of, and we've received that feedback. Because again, we put a whole complaint system in because of this situation, right, last year. So I just want to make sure that the other ends of, not so much the rules, but the way that we operate, we've adjusted based on community feedback and league feedback. The rules are the rules. I mean, I want to be there. And if we're having issues filling teams and subbing and things like that, and the teams they can't field the team, I suppose that would be a completely different issue. But yeah, I just want to make sure that those concessions, that was all I was worried about. As far as the rules are concerned, they're the rules. But
Yeah, to speak to that, Nick, you were there as well. I don't know. I don't. Did you leave early? I don't remember if you were there. I think you were there for the whole time. So you probably heard the same comments. There was some discussion of this particular item in that you get players that say it's not fair, right? But then you get players on the other side that say, well, then we can't field enough teams. And so I can understand this being something that we need to dial in, but I completely agree. This was not the main issue that we had last year. The main issue we had was the basic foundation of running the league that seemed to be shaky. So I think that this is something that we could continue to have those discussions with them, because again, I did hear multiple people at least conversing back and forth about, well, that will this, that will that, But at the same time, I think you're absolutely correct. The tiny things about rake usage and that sort of stuff between play, I think that's the most important aspects to get correct.
yeah, and again, to our point, like, we just need that solid foundation, and we don't necessarily need to make any rule changes or try to approve any rule changes until we have a year or two of harmony, and then figure out where the holes are, right? And creating another league, again, I don't know necessarily the fielding teams issue, if there's enough interest out there, that sort of thing. That's kind of on you guys. But yeah, I mean, I just like, before we make any sort of non-congruent with what everybody else is doing, changes to the rules, I'd like to have a couple of years of harmony in our league, where it's ran well and everybody's actually satisfied with just playing the game and then going there and getting feedback on the rules. So
It's strange that I'm the lone remains from that discussion that we had. So I'm just trying to make sure I have my memory correct. So if anybody's out there watching and feels that I'm misspeaking, the discussion did happen. So I know there is a need for us at some point to make some small adjustments in terms of that. But I think the overall assessment is exactly what you said, that the issues were outside of rules so much.
Kayla, since we're sanctioned by them, do we have the ability to rank players?
No, we don't.
Okay. as you know, I trust your judgment on the league rules, so I think we run with how we have it, if that's what you would like to see, and if anything further, you can come back to us and give us your feedback. Anything else on the topic? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item 8B, approval of grand openings event at J.C.'s in Lum Park.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just got done with 2 construction projects last year at JC and Lum Park, and we want to just announce those and showcase them to the public and announce, invite the dispatch and some general public individuals. Regarding Lum Park, we would invite the ski loons to be there to help us set off this grand opening, re-grand opening, if you will. And it's just a good time for us to put a feather in our hat. These are 2 great projects, and we would just like to get the okay to have some type of grand opening, re-grand opening events at these parks.
Okay, discussion, questions? Kara?
Before Kara, I wanted to be Kara to asking about, just to beat her this time, information or progress on the cleanup of the Lum Park Beach water.
Yes, we are also, I've been reached out to the DNR and to get how far can we go with this type of cleanup. We are working with, I forget the exact vendor, but they will charge $1,200 to clean it up. And on a repetitive basis, we want to get them on their calendar. So that is something that we'd at least want to do, the minimum of that. But then how far can we go? I've been reached out with the DNR. I got a meeting with them talking about the Mississippi River, and we're going to be talking about how far can we go with cleanup of weeds. I know it's very regulated, and so I want to make sure that we're following all the rules.
Very good.
Okay, so then can you commit to us that the beach will be ready before you do the grand opening, so that we can all jump in the lake and show everyone it's safe, or Troy can bring his dog, whatever, because again, we don't want to have this big celebration if we're like, oh, but then wait for 2 more months until August to swim. I just feel like it would be really great to have.
Yes. So to answer your question, yes, we're going to do the most that we can do with the restrictions of the guidelines of the state of Minnesota. That's all.
Start doing your sit-ups.
A few crunches, we're going in.
Mr. Sandy?
Mine has to do with readiness of the parks too, and like we talked last year, and making sure that everything establishes this spring and not allowing, like specifically at JC's, use. I'm a little nervous about a big grand opening event like this while the grass is still in its infancy stages, and having people walk around and trample on the newly planted grass. So what time of year are we kind of expecting this to happen? And do we think that grass is going to be in a place at that time to kind of rebound after something like that, where you have people walking around, stepping on topsoil, choking out that newly planted grass? That's my only concern.
So first I'll answer the easy one. Lum Park the shade structures will be up. The beach will be cleaned to the most extent that we can regarding law, and everything will be clean. So then we'll be having that one. At JC Park, the soccer field will be off play, off footprints for the entire summer.
Yeah.
We need to have strong root capacity. You need to let the roots take place and grow and mature before you put a soccer cleat on those fields. So that will be guarded off, and we're going to be having multiple softball leagues. Our Brainerd Baxter Baseball Association will be having multiple leagues there and tournaments. We're going to be doing a combination event. When they have a tournament there, we're going to be kicking it off. So we have plenty of individuals there, and we just want to put a feather in our hat saying, hey, look at this great field. You can't touch it yet, but look at it. It's really awesome. And we have a nice formal parking lot. And so, yeah, just to answer your question, no one will be able to touch that grass till it's next year.
Yes, Kara?
So then, should we wait to have a grand opening? Because I feel like grand opening means come and play.
Yeah.
Dave is the one who just said it, but I mean, maybe we wait until October. Could we do the Great Pumpkin Festival there? Or we're saying a whole year?
No,
For the grass, or
if
could it
it's
be-
just 2 months is what you need for grass to take full root, and then we were gonna mow it, and then the second mowing is when you can now put a cleat on it. So we could move that event there and make that a grand opening event there. So now we're not playing soccer on that field, but we're just having a festive environment with tennis shoes.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good idea. And so we could either move it to the fall, or we could move it to next year also. Great idea.
Toddlers have to push the bumpkins out of the pleasure rink.
Pleasure pond.
Any other questions or comments from staff? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Just one thing, Mike, in terms of the weeds at Lum, I know there's kind of this swampy bit to the east, northeast. I guess if we could see if the DNR would let us trim the brush there and maybe long-term make it into grass. I think we have the potential for a larger beach, and we've got the lovely improvements. So if we could have a bigger beach and not have whatever that was attempted as 10 or 15 years ago, I think that'd be nice. Given
It's supposed to be a rain garden, but but there was so much water coming to that one spot, it would like wash out the backside. So all that riprap got put in there at the end a few years ago to prevent that washout. Yeah, and it's a kind of ugly.
Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to direct staff to or approve a grand opening event at the summer time for Lum Park, and then the Pumpkin Festival be hosted at JC's as a park grand opening.
Second that?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I guess I didn't realize what. Do you have a specific date picked out for the Lum Park?
No, we
event?
do not.
Okay, not quite. Very
Yeah.
good.
But just after the canopies are up, the beach has been cleaned, and we can do it to the extent of what we can do regarding the beach.
Very good. Yep. By state regulation. Yeah.
Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. 8C, temporary fence at Buffalo Hills softball field for the Brainerd High School.
Thank you, Mr. President. So here we are working with the Brainerd High School so that they can have some play on some fields for the girls softball, right? And so we're going to be allowing them to utilize our fields. They would like to put up a temporary fence. And we've met with them. We said, okay, if you would like this fence, we are not going to do it. You need to put up the fence and remove the fence on a weekly basis so that we can mow, and our staff is not slowed down at all regarding this usage with the high school.
Do we have any questions or comments for staff?
Sorry, I don't understand what they're at. They would just want to take that whole field and they want to fence it off so like the public can't use it? Is that what the fencing is there for?
Well, the fencing is for the women's softball team to have for home run purposes. That outfield fence is a little bit too far for the regulatory rules for the women's softball. So they're going to be bringing in a temporary fence so that if they do hit a home run, now that signifies a home run.
They're shortening the field for their regulations.
Thank you.
40 feet.
Mr. Mayor?
How's it gonna work with the parking lot situation? We're tearing that all up this summer, aren't we?
Yes, we are. So, but their usage, Kayla, what is their usage for the year? It's only for springtime,
Okay.
during the school year.
So we won't be tearing it up until they're done.
If we do, we will be working with them that they'll have to walk, park.
Well, there's nowhere else to park, so that
Yeah.
would be my only fear with that, is just making sure that they're aware and we're aware of when we're gonna start tearing up that parking lot, because that, there is nowhere else to park there. Maybe. Yeah, no. I just don't want us tearing it up and then them showing up and being like, where's everybody going?
Their last usage is May 19th.
Okay, that should be fine then, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the installation of a temporary fence at the softball field at Buffalo Hills.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 8D, approval of a revised agreement with community education.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lori, if you could bring up their agreement. We wanted them to put the City of Brainerd logo on their shirts. Well, they already printed their shirts. So I had a conversation with them if they would just put it on their website, put it on their rules, just put our banner, our logo on their printed material signifying this partnership. I just would like the City of Brainerd to get some acknowledgement from them. So they, I forget the very specific page. I think it's a little bit further down right there. But they do want to work. They're already put our logo on, again, the printed material that they can. And so they just modified that.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? I'm good with it.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
Do I have a motion for a revised approval?
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the revised contract for this year with the contingency that next year it was as it was written this year. Told.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 8E, I gotta flip back. Consider granting dangerously thrilling decibels permission to park in Gregory Park during Halloween.
I think you said there was one in between. Funding or something?
Community Empowerment Grant. 8E, Community Empowerment Grant.
Yes. Thank you. So this is a grant for us to go out and continue our movie in the parks. And this is something that we're just like to bring to the board to see if you would like us to move forward in that direction.
We have any questions for staff, comments?
You're just asking if you can move forward and apply for the grant.
Correct.
Yeah, it was a huge hit last year.
It was.
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion.
I
I've
would,
just questioned what the grant amount is for. Is it through Sourcewell? Or is it?
I just saw a brief indication on this, and I talked to the president to add this on there. I haven't dove into it very much at all, so I just wanted, before I did, I wanted to get permission to go ahead and do this.
It's through Community Action.
Community Action.
Saw that it was up to $2,500 is what I read on the Facebook page. I didn't even know this was coming up. I was reading about it.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
yeah, I make a motion to direct staff to entertain the Community Empowerment Grant.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 8F, dangerously thrilling Halloween event in Gregory Park.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a program that's been going on for a number of years, and the community loves it. It's quite an event. From looking at the past, I've never attended, but I've seen some pictures, and it's very extensive. And I will just be, again, for when we are conducting events and whatnot, just the power of recreation and what it can do and the amount of revenue that it can bring. Waiving a fee is, our recommendation is for that you approve that and we don't charge anything. In the years, at the end of this year, we will be putting forth another fee schedule for 26, and I will be having a pretty lengthy presentation on cost recovery with our fee structure. And recreation is just a huge, powerful tool, and this is an event that is a great need in our community, but how much work is this going to create for our staff thereafter? So that is just what I'm looking at, and I need to look at our assets, our staff time, and all of this. When we waive fees like this, programs like this, they're great for the community, but it puts a huge toll on our staff, and we have limited staff, limited hours, and moving forth. We have a lot of amenities in Brainerd, a lot of great amenities, but I don't want to take away from this request right now. Again, this is a request for a fee waiver, if you will, to be conducted on Halloween. And the music is only, I forget very specifically, it's listed there till, I believe it's 8:30 at night, which is very reasonable. And so the request is admirable, and they provide a great service to our community.
Do we have any other questions or comments on this for staff or Danny? Andrew?
I have a couple. First of all, I love this so much, Danny. It was amazing last year. It was also the best smelling smoke I've ever smelled. I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, Dave liked that too. It's just additive you put in the fog machines, and then
Delightful.
That's Mayor Dave.
I picked out cotton
That's
candy.
Mayor Dave. We're formal around these parts.
Yeah, I picked out
What
cotton candy
additives?
as opposed to like, I don't know, they got like a bunch of other ones like Dead Morgue and stuff. So anyway, but
Confused my
cotton
dogs,
candy
but it
was the best. So
Yeah, it was-
that's
it was
what I
great.
went with.
Conceptually, I think having you set up the day before makes sense, but I think granting you access exactly when the park closes the night before is probably not something we want to do as a board. Like get you in there earlier in the evening if you want to do some setup or bring stuff in the night
Yeah,
before.
that's fine. I mean, it would probably. I mean, I try to estimate my time the best I can, but I mean, I can obviously be there an hour earlier, whatever, so that I'm there before it's actually closed.
Yeah, I think we just don't want to set the precedent that like you can be in the parks after they're closed, especially
yeah.
for messing with your stuff after you leave.
Sure. Yeah.
So it'd be that, and then I know you've got some trailers.
Yep.
You got them into the park last year.
Yeah, I pulled them by hand with the help of my parents, and it was a nightmare. Especially that big one, the one, not that one. That one's lighter, surprisingly, but the other one, the enclosed trailer, that with everything in there, it's a 6x10, and it's like 4,000 or 5,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's
So I don't feel like it's too much for me to ask to be able to pull that into the park it, and then get my vehicle out of there. Or even leave the vehicle connected, whatever. But, I mean, it would be unaccessible to anyone, and once it's parked where it's at, it stays there until I'm out of there, so.
So historically, we've had two concerns with that. One is the safety of, people in the park while you're driving in there.
Yeah,
The second is damage to the park from the vehicles, sidewalks, destroying grass, things like that.
yeah.
I think, Mike, if you feel like you and Troy and folks could have someone there to make sure folks are not around when he's pulling in and that there's a path, especially for a trailer that heavy that could get in the park without damaging the archway, the sidewalks, things like that, I could support this. Because, what you're doing is beyond something you can bring in another way.
Yeah.
So I want to make it practical for you, but also, follow the general policies we've come up with as a board. So,
Yes, Mr. President, we can definitely work with Danny and his staff and crew or volunteers to make sure that when they do go in, it's a safe route. And yeah, would definitely work with the vendor on this.
I know I was one that was kind of stuck in my ways last year, and I got to see the setup last year, and I have a different appreciation for it. So I want to say thank you for what you do for the city.
Of course.
I can learn. Mr. Mayor?
I will say that the mayor's mom loved it. So she has a house a block away, and she says louder. So I can't say that everyone says that, but my mom says louder. She loved it. I will say that the houses around there, you would think, would say, oh, this, because it's a big event. But Halloween to North Brainerd is a big deal. And so this was a great inclusion that people really loved. And Councilman Kelly Bevins is directly across the street, and he also enjoyed it. So I think you got friends on all sides of the city. Enjoyed it. It's a great event. I really am excited for you, so keep it up.
Do we have any other questions for Danny? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Andrew,
Sorry, let me amend that. Move to approve with the condition that we move the start time at least to 9 p.m. and that Mike and Troy and team work with Danny to have staff help him pull in safely and to path the trailer so it's safe for the resources in the park.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Is the truck and trailer we're gonna move it for the event? It's not sitting there all day, so that I feel like we would get possibly some kickback for that from other events, or is that difficult to move the trailer out onto the street and then move it back in? Or what would be best?
I personally would rather have them move it in once and out once, instead of in and out, in and out.
And
Probably less damage.
that's also much better because one of the trailers, it does sit right on the center sidewalk because that's where all like the sound
It's part of
equipment
the
is.
display. Okay.
So that one didn't ever move, and then the other one, the lighter one that's exposed, that one moved from one side, but that was just pulling it by hand, so it's more of a cart at that point. So.
Mike had something.
So yes, Mr. President, I would just recommend that we do leave the trailers in there just for ease of loading and unloading. We will, work with the vendor to make sure that they're in good locations. We would just ask that the vehicle be removed so that the precedent of a vehicle in a park isn't over dramatized, so.
I like that.
Any other discussion on the motion? Not, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to number 9, the public forum, the general public forum. Time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the board. Time limits may be imposed if necessary. Opening the public forum at 5:12 p.m.
David O, Executive Director of Brainerd Community Action. I just want to say hello to you guys once again. It's going to be a busy summer in the parks. So we do not have our applications in for you yet, but you will be seeing a plethora of them for your next meeting. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. We also are entertaining taking over of music in the park. So we'd like to kind of talk with your staff and whatnot about what that could potentially look like. A potential to have a couple of concerts like we did last year. We had one that went really, really well, and we're looking at potentially partnering to do a couple more of those, but then a couple of smaller things as well. So just giving you a heads up that it's going to be a busy, busy summer, and we look forward to working with you guys and appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no other public forum comments, I will close that at 5:13 p.m. Moving on to item 10A, staff reports 2025 recreational events.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've been working on a lot of different events, and Kayla has just put forth a good list of them, and she'll share right now.
So attached, you'll see a list of the events and activities and dates for the year. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. And then I have some upcoming events as well. So that'll be the next one. So the Easter egg hunt location is Gregory Park on Saturday, April 19th for the Easter egg hunt, partnered with the Brainerd Rotary Club. Cub Foods donated to this event to help purchase candy. This is a free event for 2 to 9-year-olds. To start the event, the kids will have the opportunity to take photos with the Easter Bunny. Then at 10 o'clock, the hunt will begin. There will be 4 different quadrants based on ages, and then the kids will receive bags of candy after they are done with their hunt. And then the next one is a flyer for Easter Ball Hunt. This is an event for the dogs and will be after the Easter egg hunt on April 19th. This is also a free event at Buster Dog Park and the Buffalo Hills Trail around Boom Lake. The hunt starts at noon. Tennis balls are donated by the Brainerd Warriors tennis team and will be scattered around the trail. There will be a special prize for the dog and owner who finds the red tennis ball. And then the next event is the Early Bird Softball Tournament, Men's CD. That will be held at the Memorial Park Fields on April 26th. Dunmire's Food Truck, Mama D's, will be there. And the Brainerd Eagles Club agreed to give a portion of the proceeds to go back into the softball fields.
Any questions for staff on the 2025 recreational events? Andrew?
Just one. Seeing the co-ed grass volleyball tournament, which I think is cool. Is the beach at Lum big enough we could have a beach volleyball tournament there? I know there's a lot of bars that do it, so I don't know if there's the market for more, but
I like that idea.
That could be cool.
I'll look into it.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. President, I'd just like to thank staff. Kayla and Lisa have worked extensively, really hard. This list is a pretty comprehensive list for, Lisa is already working on a lot of different things, so she's a little bit part-time helping out Kayla, but Kayla is listed all of these events and she has championed them. So I just want to publicly just say that this is a great list of programs, and thank you.
All right, moving on to 10B, staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have several of them. We've met with a few of you working on the 26 budget, and we're still working on that. So that will I'll be asking for another little meeting with the individuals that were included last time. And the second one is at the concession stands to streamline our efficiencies. We are looking at just accepting credit cards at the concession stands. So I think that will help our overall process. And last year we were in the red. We're working with Coca-Cola, right? Right? So we're working with them. They are helping us making a menu. We're going to streamline our menu to be very much more efficient and just for efficiency's purposes. The big goal is just to get in the positive. That is our number one goal. So it's hard when you look at all the expenses that go into a concession stand. The state of Minnesota, the health code regulations are hundreds of dollars, and now we're paying staff $20 an hour to hand out a $1 soda can. So it's difficult, but we are having measures in there to be positive and have a positive outcome at the end. So that's one of the efficiencies, if the board is okay. Lisa has already worked with our IT department to get the necessary equipment in there, and that is moving forward also. At that, we'll take any questions.
Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I think when we talked credit cards the last time, I think this was 2 years ago now, but when we talked credit cards the last time, we were attaching a fee to every credit card that we used. If we're credit cards only, are we attaching a fee to credit card usage?
3%. So on a $1 soda machine or can pop machine, so that would be $1.03.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Couldn't we just build that into the price then? Since it's only card usage, we would just build it into the price?
We could, but it's a caveat. It's on 3% and it goes directly, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, it goes directly to that credit card company and it doesn't really come to us. So, but something that we could definitely look into.
I mean, yeah, you would just list it that way.
The marketing on that seems really bad because they're going to be like, hey, you can only use credit cards here, but also we're charging you a 3% fee on everything that you buy. So it looks kind of bad, in my opinion. But that's, again.
I'd rather pay 25 cents more for something.
I totally, you know what I mean? I get it. But yeah, if we're saying, hey, you have to do this, but also we're charging you a fee for doing this, it just
$1.25
optically looks terrible. Yeah, it just
$1.25 looks better than dollar plus.
Right. And so we will look at that just for efficiencies purposes. Sometimes you will see individuals or you're at an organization and they have these efficiencies laid out, and you're like, okay, they are really doing their due diligence to ensure that this is a positive and profitable for the organization. So that is our only way, or that's our one way to help with our efficiencies and making it streamlined.
Yeah, anecdotally, I was worried about the cash portion of our transactions when we reviewed the concession stands before the POS system was put in. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a I think removing cash out of the equation is kind of a big deal when we're operating on such a small margin, and the faith of the staff that we put in there on a cash level. So I'm not opposed to it. Like I said, it just was the fee seems kind of funky. So yeah, if we want to just pitch that a little bit better, that'd be good.
And we will, according to with the mayor's comment, we'll definitely look in that to see if that's a way to do that for marketing. It will just be a better approach handling that.
I'm gonna go ladies first, Kara.
So I know that we had some kind of deal with Coke in the past where we had so many bottles we had to buy or cans, and just like, do we renew that, or are we sure that Coke is our best vendor? Maybe it's too late, but like, is that the best price deal for us? You guys are shaking your heads.
So what we're doing with Coke, because they do provide that, it was a small incentive check last year, very small. So and we've met with them, and they recommended not having a contract. And correct me, are we going to be also, are they going to be helping with some of our events? So instead of signing a contract, we are working with them, and they are going to be helping us with some of our free events. They will come set up a booth, offer free samples at these free events that we do, and that will just be a compliment from them saying, hey, thanks for utilizing our service. We're not entering into a contract. For us, for the staff, for in my department, we want to make sure that this is a profitable endeavor. This is a lot of work for our staff, and it was shocking that we did not make money on this last year. So that is our first and foremost, is that we need this to be profitable and efficient. So we went in that approach, but we also, Coca-Cola was like, hey, we still want to help you. And you can go this route. Don't need you to sign a contract. We're even going to go so far to help you with your free events. So Kayla's going to be working with them, saying, hey, come to this event, and this event, and that'll be great.
Okay, so then it is possible to check out Pepsi or Delheimer or something for future summers.
Totally.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Andrew?
Could you send me a copy of our merchant agreement for the point of sale system? I'm just curious how our rates shake out.
Yes, we will do that.
Thank you.
We'll send it to the whole board.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, we will move on to item 11, board member reports.
Sorry, excuse me, Mr. President, I wasn't finished yet. If I could take the privilege to continue. So credit cards on the concession stand. Also, we want to set up, we want to work on all of our agreements for 26. That will also be coming. And then the last one is our fee schedule for 2026 also. We're going to be working on our measures. You will be in that, whether we have a workshop or something like that, we could entertain that, just to have some open discussion on fee structures, and also what do our agreements really cost the city of Brainerd. I'm going to be opening that up and really looking at what our agreements, and I'm totally good. For decision-making, we just have to know all the information. And we know all the information. If we still want to go down that road, that's great. It's just good for decision-making to have all the information at our fingertips before we make a decision moving forward. And that's what the purpose of that fee structure will be, and an analytical report on pricing structure. End of report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, board member reports. Sandy?
I have nothing further to report.
Nothing to report this time.
There's a trend going on.
Two things. There's a photo in the dispatch of kids playing a triangle, which was lovely. And I think just a reminder that sometimes kids just need green grass to play. And I know we have a lot of amenities we work on, but like they were just running. I mean, the grass isn't even green, right? But they were just running around having fun. So I'm excited just for the stuff to start greening up, and I like to see some of our less used parks get attention. So that, and then just another shout out, Kayla. I think seeing this list of activities is really exciting. I feel like since I've been on the board, it's been, hey, the pumpkin festival's next month. Let's see what we should do. Or the Easter egg hunt is in 2 weeks. What's happening? So I'm really excited just to get everything mapped out and to be more proactive as a board. So it's awesome. That's all I got.
I'm just requesting that we have the special permits, like the special events, like, can they be their own bullet? Especially if we're gonna be, like, today we moved it and made it its own discussion, but like, if there's going to be more discussions or more permits, maybe have them as like a bullet point.
Anything out of the ordinary?
Yeah, where we need to like discuss it more.
No special requests.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, if that, then we can actually discuss it versus saying, hey, can we move this? It's most likely, because we don't really get to discuss within that consent calendar. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Is that like something you have to make a motion about?
I did think today, like, this particular event asked a little bit more of us than normal, so I probably would have liked to see this event application and event applications like this not in the consent calendar, because there was a little bit of discussion, especially, I mean, if we just sweeping motion it and then, you know, he pulls his trailer into the park, you know, that would have been kind of a bummer. So I think there are just a few, if we have to make certain, like outside of park hours, requests or things like that, I think if we need to go farther than we normally would, I probably would like to see those types of applications pulled from the consent calendar and have discussion about it. Just this is a good example of kind of out of the ordinary. And, you know, and again, I didn't want him to wait until the very end of this, of course, but those types of permits I think I'd like, or applications I probably like to see myself outside of the event or consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'd also like to just point out too that we've had a couple instances in the last couple summers of events that are happening that don't actually come before the council and ask for permits. So I just want to make sure we're proactive on that as a staff level of if we see something like that, because typically they're advertised. But we've had instances where we say, you know, we don't allow this to, you know, take place in this manner, and then they say, well, we never applied for a permit or anything. So we've had a couple of larger events that have done that. So just making sure that if staff sees something like that out there, that the board is aware of what's going on, that you're aware of what's going on. It's a safety concern, that sort of stuff, making sure insurance is involved. So just want to make sure we're keeping an eye on that stuff.
I also wanted to ask about graffiti under the bridge. I don't mean to bring it up. Like, I feel like I haven't heard it on a list of like being cleaned up. Is that, oh, sorry, did it just happen now? No.
I was down there the other day. There's nothing down there. I think the cameras have maybe worked to some degree.
Hashtag Team Ascension.
Yeah.
Maybe the last time ever. I think there's probably 50 mils of paint under that bridge. Chip it off with a jackhammer.
Structural paint.
Any other board member reports?
Board bearing report.
I'm not a board member, but would you entertain a comment?
I would actually enjoy it.
This last week, my son and I, my littlest son, so on Thursdays, him and I like to go have adventures. This week, we went to Lum Park, and I just want to say that things are looking great over there. We have really seen a large movement in that park. A part of that was I then at home, because I'm a nerd, was looking at like Google reviews and stuff. And I think we could do a better job of like identifying those things from like listening to what the public is saying, right or wrong, about some of the things that they like or dislike about our parks, because they identified like the restrooms and stuff as things we could do. From the financial side of things, we just met recently, the bathrooms are lower on our year list than, you know, we should be looking at. So I'd like to see us kind of take an approach where we're being a little bit more mindful of that stuff. But I just want to say, that park, from where it was a couple years ago, is looking fantastic. The dollars that have been spent there, the time that has been spent there, and the potential to recover some of that beach. I don't know, I was just surprised to see, I've lived here my whole life, and I was surprised to see that that wall extends about another 150 feet from where it is. So there's potential for us to reclaim some of that beach area and not necessarily have it be glorious white sand, but have it be at least more visible. Us turning ourselves back towards the river and towards the lake is a big deal for Brainerd, and so I just think it's really exciting stuff. So he also, I just want to say, the reason we went there, as my little 5-year-old said, he wanted to go in the woods where there are no benches. So we've been down trails. He had said no benches. That was the stipulation. And we have a really nice little tiny chunk of Lum Park that is just it's untamed wilderness, at least for a 5-year-old. So he thought it was the greatest thing in the world. He thought that little bit of woods was the greatest thing in the world. So I just want to say that I appreciate what we've done with that park. Mike, sorry. Much like Mike, not done. We officially have a berm.
I was gonna bring it up.
Officially have a berm.
Bring it up.
I almost forgot. I started getting teary-eyed about my son and the woods. Lum Park, it may be the smallest berm in the history of berms. Some may call it a bump. However, we officially have a berm. So I don't know if you were here for the last meeting, but I said I retire. So
See you later, Dave.
see ya. I sent a picture to Kara, and she didn't even know it was a berm. So there you go. It is the smallest berm in the history of berms.
Now I see it.
Just a bump.
But I thought you were taking a picture of like,
We're,
A berm is a berm.
we're moving in the right direction, though, folks. We're moving in the right direction.
A
So
berm is a berm, and beggars can't be choosers.
it is our first ever berm, so we are in the berm business.
And we accept your resignation.
And you accept my resignation. End of report.
All right. Seeing no other reports, we will move on to item number 12. I would have a motion to adjourn.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned at 5:32.